Cool.
Everything is. Well, good luck. I think you have a meeting,
I
right?
do. So, okay. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and
to the
to
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like to remind everyone that you are being recorded. Please mute your phones until you are acknowledged to speak. And I think that is everyone. The 3 members of the Board of Selectmen are in attendance. There are a total of 21 people who have now been admitted into this meeting. So, good evening, everyone. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, and with the addition of one agenda item to add Crooked Hill Road bid award. Is there a second?
Second.
Any preference as to the order where you want me to put that, in the beginning or towards the end?
I do not.
I'd also like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove the executive session.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Abstain.
Okay, why don't we get through the agenda? We will,
John, is John abstaining from both? Sorry, John.
All right. Yeah, I think there was only one. Well, if there were,
Or Laura,
Well,
were you making that two motions or one?
those are two motions. I will recall the vote for the first one. All those in favor of adding Crooked Hill Road bid award, say aye.
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 abstain.
Okay. So let's try to
Want to
get
do the
through.
second one too, Laura?
Yes, I think we did that one though. Thank you.
Okay, well, abstain on that one as well then.
Okay. All right, let's try to get through the agenda and we'll add that item as item number 13. All right, are there any public comments?
Yes,
Joe Pasquale, I see your hand up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I was calling to inquire about Corn School and the status of the town's activity in regards to either purchasing it or just passing on it.
So our official stance is that we've passed on it. We did prior to the COVID scenario here, we were looking at possibly finding a way to take ownership of it and renovate it in a way that was a lot less money than was first anticipated. George did some good work on that, but before we had a chance to really vet it, we were distracted by this health crisis. Since then, the Board of Education has continued to discuss it. The last I heard was that they were seriously considering seeking permission and funding to raise the building. But, you know, right now, I don't know that that's our priority or should be our priority right now. But it's certainly the school's call on that. If in fact they are serious about pursuing the raising, then I would suggest that we take another look at George's proposal, vet it, and see it to its natural end, whether that be to pass again or to seek funding for it. I remain in the belief, hold on, that it would be a shame for both towns if that building were raised. But that's just my opinion at the moment.
And if I could ask about the EMS and the fire department's expansion to their building?
Again, we've not gotten any further in the planning stages for that. We're still working with the EMS department on their reorganization, and I plan to have them come to a meeting in August to brief the Board of Selectmen on their progress with that. It's been about a month, 6 weeks, 6, 7, 8 weeks since they've done that. That's my plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I see Rick Parmalee, your hand is up.
Yeah, with regards to the Corn School issue, I'm opposed to them demolishing the building. At one point, they had numbers that were different than some of the more recent ones about keeping it open. And the cost went way up to keep it open. I don't know what they factored in. But as a resident pointed out to me, the earlier numbers, it would take 30 years without principal interest to pay back the cost of demolishing the building. And they're being a little short-sighted. Is that something they can do on their own without going to the public?
They would have to go to the public to seek funding because it is my understanding that they currently do not have the funds readily available to pay for the cost of raising the building.
Yeah, I don't, they have way too much authority in their deliberations, and they shouldn't be able to do something like that if they had the money without the consent of the public and having them properly heard. It was pointed out to me by someone who has considerable knowledge of land use regulations. And one of the shortcomings of if they dispose of a parcel, they would affect their future site plans if they needed a certain amount of acreage to work with. If they just demolish the building, that's poor, very poor, especially with what's going on today. That needs to be brought to the public. They shouldn't have that authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Any other public comment? There being none, I'll go to the next. Okay. Sorry, Roger.
That's all right. I was unmuted for quite a while. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Question, last meeting, you approved this, I guess, demonstration for police in favor of the Board of Selectmen. What if we get opposition to this and there's protesting?
The organizers of that rally have agreed to pay the cost of having 2 troopers available.
Yeah. And my other comment is, I guess they sort of apologized. I talked to somebody about cutting through this new sidewalk, but they're still cutting through sidewalk on the opposite side of the road now.
Right. So their answer to me was that the plans call for going under the sidewalk unless they hit ledge. And they've hit ledge a few times, and then they'll have to repair the sidewalks if that happens. Thank you, Roger. Any other public comment? Okay, I will go to item number 4. Are there any nominations for Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission alternate or Economic Development Commission regular member?
I'm sorry, but I do not.
John? Okay. Item number 5, Agriculture Commission membership discussion. It is my understanding that we might be receiving a resignation from a regular member that will allow Jesse Allen to move up. And then that member at the end of your nomination time frame can get reappointed to fill an alternate position. Again, it's unfortunate that we have to do this kind of maneuvering to get good, qualified, willing people, but we have an obligation to follow the letter of our charter. So I think this, in pretty short order, will get remedied, although in a pretty awkward way. Something we need to remember if and when we have charter revision to take a look at that.
Well, we will. Is the person considering stepping down unaffiliated?
He is.
Okay.
But in the meantime, the Ag Commission is doing some good work. One of their charges is to take a look at our regulations, our ordinances, our charter, our planning and zoning regulations, etc., to make sure that they are favorable to promoting agriculture in our community. They've been successful in advocating for an ordinance that we put in place to allow for the assessor to exempt horses from property tax. You know, as a community, we have for a very long time, participated in Public Act 490, which allows for farms and other open space to be taxed at a lower amount. And we have allowed for a tax abatement or reduction for farm equipment. Pretty much the last thing that we can do to help our farming community and promote farming is to allow for an exemption for farm buildings. And members of the Ag Commission are in attendance tonight to discuss this. But what I'd like to do is just kind of test your minds on whether or not you think this is a proposal that is worthy of bringing through the process. It would have to be done by ordinance. This is legislation that enables us to apply this. It is our standing practice that for new ordinances, we schedule a public hearing with 30 days notice. And then we go from there. It would have to be passed at a town meeting. I want to try your minds tonight because we'll have to draft the ordinance, and I'll look at other towns who have already done this for some best practices. And I will look for a date to set a public hearing if you think that this idea is worth pursuing.
If you're asking, my answer is yes, absolutely. I know the state put in the regulation probably 10 years ago, quite a while ago, that allows towns to do this. And being the farm agricultural community that we are, I think this is absolutely a must to keep what we have in place now. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to take advantage of and pass on to our farming community. I think the Ag Commission did a great job bringing this forward.
John?
Good.
Okay, so I will start the process at this point in time. If there are any members of the Ag Commission that would like to make a statement, I would recognize you. Okay, Joe?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to say is thank you for recognizing the value of this and moving it forward.
Thank you. Jesse?
And I would second what Joe said, and also offer up my services if we need to do, any kind of further digging on information or data analysis in terms of tax impact and whatever else may come along in the process.
Thank you, Jesse. I will take you up on that because to prepare for the public hearing, not only do we want to try to get the language as close to what we want to pass as possible, although the public hearing comments could always alter that, but we would also want to be able to explain the tax impact to our community. So thank you for your initial work on that, and we'll continue to stay in touch with that.
I'll second that, Jesse. Thank you for all your work. Obviously, you've done a great job.
All right, thank you. It helps to have one of our farmers in town also have a very strong accounting background. Okay, item number 7. I'd like to make a motion to give approval of a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for an affordable housing planning grant with the State of Connecticut Department of Housing. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
All right, this might look familiar to you, that we've already had approval of this resolution. However, since then, we have received notice that we did in fact receive the grant. So we will be getting $15,000 from State of Connecticut Department of Housing to do this study and to write this plan. But they wanted an updated, less than 30-day old resolution approval. So that's why we're doing this over. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 8, I'd like to give approval for the first selectman to enter into a 60-month lease agreement with DeLog Landon Financial Services for a Sharp MX 4051 copier. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'd like to ask Jacqueline to explain the process that we have gone through to bring this proposal to you.
Hi. So you guys saw my memo that I wrote to Laura, but the lease is up on the copier that we have right now. We currently pay $151 a month. So we were able to get a quote for $149.36 on a state. He has the state contract. You saw all the specs that I had in there. The machine is better than what we currently have, and town hall staff is already familiar with this brand, which is going to be helpful, so I won't have to give an in-depth training to people. And I also did get I got a quote, which I don't think I needed to, but from who we currently have, for 155. So that was more than what we're paying currently and what I got for the Sharp. So basically what happens is that if we get approval for this, then he'll purchase it, and then I'll get the lease and Laura can sign the lease, and we just do these with all of them. We just did one with the second floor. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Jacqueline, does this include destroying the memory card in there?
Yes, they handle all of that for us.
Any questions, George, John?
So Jacqueline, we're getting more for less,
Yes.
and you're comfortable jumping to a new company on something like this?
Yes, we have this machine on our second floor. We have 2 copiers. So this one is the color copier that's on the first floor. And we have worked with this person before too. So yeah, I'm super comfortable with it. I know the people on the second floor like the machine up there. It's all pretty similar, but yeah.
Okay, I have no questions.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 9, the 2020 STEEP grant program. So we were very, very pleased when the governor announced that there would be a STEEP grant solicitation for projects, because this funding has been swept the last few years. However, we were a little bit surprised, even though we know that each governor has the ability to craft this program to his liking. Each governor has approached this grant a little bit differently. So the guidelines that came out this year were actually the most different of everything that I could remember. First of all, the project funding level was greatly reduced. Used to be that the maximum award would be $500,000. That has been reduced to $128,205. So what does that tell you? That tells me that they took the 15 million and probably tried to divvy it up in such a way that everybody's going to get something. In addition to that changed, They did also put in the guidelines and requirements that there is now a municipal match. And there are all kinds of restrictions around the match. For instance, municipal salaries and expenses cannot be used as matching funds. Matching funds have to be currently budgeted. Recurring budget expenditures are not eligible. STEEP is supposed to be used for projects of a capital nature, such as land acquisition, planning, design, and contract services, as well as building, renovation, et cetera. They are allowing for COVID projects to be eligible. And they are asking that we try to link it with some economic development. So I, with town staff, took a look of all of our capital plans. And quite honestly, the project that fits this and these guidelines the best is for Shady Lane. The reason being is we have already budgeted matching funds for this program. It's on our capital plan, and it can, in fact, be interpreted as an economic development project because, as we discussed during one of our earlier meetings, there are properties in that off of that road that could be future properties of development. So I want to try your minds again about whether or not you would support using this grant application for that project, and then I can get staff working on it. The application window of opportunity is pretty short. I think at the middle of August is when the application is due.
So realistically, it has to be something already in the pipeline.
Yep, they have reiterated over and over in the guideline document that they're looking for shovel-ready projects.
And I think the only one that I know of is in fact Shady Lane.
Yeah.
Anything that'll cut down that cost, I mean, if the money is available, it's the gift horse. I mean, it's something that if we can apply and get in on time, we should have our ducks in a row on that project already.
So I have our town engineer on deck as soon as I say the word to start preparing the application. The good news of that is that we have already gotten very far down the road with our design. So I think we're in good shape to be completed with this application in time.
I would be in agreement with that.
John, your thoughts? John?
It sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, item number 10. We had a request from our market master, John Scagnelli, who's also in the meeting, to revise the Durham Farmers Market 2020 rules and guidelines to increase the market length of or duration through the end of October. Is that through the end of October, right, John?
Yeah, sorry, Laura, I had to unmute that. Yeah, so in light of the Durham Fair not happening today, usually we break the second week of September to give the Durham Fair a chance to set up and break down. And last year we picked up the second week of October and carried out through the last week of October. We're just looking to extend the period of September throughout the whole month. And instead of waiting for the Durham Fair, which isn't happening this year. So we're just going to continue with the market, if that's okay with the selectmen.
And then through the end of October?
Correct, yes. Last year we had a very successful um, Halloween market that went over very well. Where actually, well, you would know because you were a participant of um, the activities at Town Hall. You guys decorated, and it was a great event. So I'd like to keep that momentum going.
Okay. Thoughts, George, John? I'll make a motion to approve the request for discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And your thoughts?
So basically, again, instead of taking a break for the Durham Fair, you're running through the fair, and instead of stopping the second Thursday in October, you're running through the end of October? So you're-
George, that was typically the second week of September is when we stopped to allow the Durham Fair to set up because, as you know, they utilize the town green to set up for the fair. And then they usually take a week to break down in October. So we're just looking for that break the third and fourth week of September, as well as the first week of October, to get that approved. Because I did ask for permission to continue with the fall market, which would have been the second, third, and fourth week of October. Anyways, so if we could just get those 3 weeks approved, that would be great. So there's no interruption in our market.
Gotcha. I read the striked out version wrong. Okay, I see what you're doing. I have absolutely no problem with that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
John, I'll just say, take the time to applaud you again for your work at the market. I mean, all our market masters have been good through the years. All brought something new and different, and you certainly have done that and done a really, I think many people would agree, have done a great job with the with this and the things that go along with it, like the concerts and whatnot. So thank you for all your work as the market master.
You're here. Thank you, John. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Okay, the next item is a discussion about the town's participation in a virtual net metering application. I briefed you on this in the past. This is a private endeavor on private property where the developers are giving the town and Region School District 13 the ability to be beneficial account hosts and to take advantage of some of the clean energy that is anticipated that's going to be generated from this solar project. So the next step in that process, the beginning when I briefed you on this, we had to give a letter of intent, a non-binding letter of intent. The next step in their application to PURA, or to the Siting Council rather, is our agreement that we are interested in having 10 of our accounts be considered beneficial accounts. So I will be signing that, again, non-binding. It's just to inform the Siting Council who might be taking advantage of this generation. The time and place where I'm going to be asking you to bound the town is when we are entering into the PPA, the power purchase agreement. And that is negotiable. The terms of that agreement will be negotiable. So this is one step closer, but we are not at all close to the point in time where the town is bound. The early calculations after we have put in our accounts that we want to be considered, this could reduce our utility costs at 30%. It'll be approximately 165,000 kilowatt hours that we would be able to make eligible for this project. So I just wanted to keep you posted and assure you that we're not at the point in time where the town is bound to anything. Any questions? thoughts, comments?
Have you identified the 10 accounts?
Yes. So there are it's 10 accounts, but 3 accounts of that 165,000 kilowatt hours account for 134,000. The rest of the accounts are smaller. I did inquire with, so we have more than 10 accounts. So I did inquire with Eversource if we can bundle, or what they call, I forget the terminology that they use, but basically bundle some of our smaller accounts into one account number so that we could include more kilowatt hours, but they won't allow us to do that. So this is the best combination of 10 accounts in order to get the most kilowatt hours included. And
And
there
I see the 10 accounts. I'm just not sure actually what I'm looking at. For example, Town of Durham, Maple Avenue, Lot E of the Durham Voluntary Ambulance.
Yeah. So the titles of them are a little bit misleading. For instance, they do have under streetlights, it looks like it's just including Main Street, right? But under their sub accounts, under that account title, that includes pretty much all of our streetlights. One of the things that we are bound to is that the state of Connecticut in the virtual net metering program only allows you to put in what they call essential accounts. However, we might be able to classify some of our accounts as agricultural use. For instance, down at White's Farm, where the pump house is, and that type of thing. So we're looking to include as many kilowatt hours as we possibly can. But of this 165 that's currently in there, it is estimated it'll be about a 30% reduction in our utility costs.
Okay. That's it. That's the pump house. Okay.
And so, at any point in time, if you have any thoughts or questions, please let me know. And I'll let you in on the status, and I will keep updating you. Okay, item number 12, discussion of public works and town facilities. So a little bit of history to kind of tee this up. So we have for several years, maybe about 10 years, we had our building official serve as both our building official and our facilities manager. He did a great job with that, but last year he decided that he wanted to partially retire. Well, he's not retired, he wanted his hours reduced. So he went down to 20 hours a week, which is what we needed him to do for building official duties. No way could he handle the facilities part at that point in time in the 20 hours and do his building official work. So we looked into possibly, with the remainder of the budget that we had for his full salary, we thought we might be able to hire someone part-time. Well, bringing anyone on the payroll, even in a part-time basis, is fraught with all kinds of issues, right? All issues involved with personnel, all issues involved with payroll costs, et cetera, et cetera. And in addition, at the time anyway, maybe it's different now with the unemployment situation that we're in, but at the time, we didn't even think that we would be able to hire somebody qualified to do that. It has been my thought for quite some time that I would love to bring that function into the Public Works Department. But again, I didn't want to do it in such a way that was going to add headcount to our payroll. And so I've been working with our road foreman, John Jenkins, to try to find a way to bring this function into the Public Works Department without harming the good organization that we've built in our Public Works Department. And let me give you a little history on that too. When I came into office, we had a head count, same that we have now, but it consisted of a road foreman, one laborer, and everyone else was classified as a maintainer two. In addition to them having the same titles, they had the same seniority date. The date that they all became maintainer two was the same. So organizationally, that was a little rough, and we had, meaning, you know, there was no hierarchy in not that it was rough, we had good people, but the hierarchy of it didn't allow for any flexibility. It didn't allow for any upward mobility. So through some attrition and some reorganization, we have created that hierarchy. We now have a road foreman, we have a crew leader, we have 3 maintainer twos, we have 2 maintainer ones, and a laborer. And so John Jenkins and I have been talking about how do I bring in and give him the responsibility for facilities without harming the work plan for Public Works. And this is what we've come up with. The plan is to implement a 1-year pilot program totally within the budget that we have already in place. In fact, it'll actually represent a savings of the budget that we have right now. We're going to create 2 crew leaders. The thought being 2 crew leaders can handle the day-to-day supervision of the crews and free John Jenkins, the road foreman's time, so that he can devote some of that time to facilities. Facilities management in our town is basically administrative. We don't do a lot of work in-house. We have a plumber of record. We have an electrician of record. We have a carpenter of record. And Public Works does handle some facilities work as well. But that takes some time to coordinate. And John Jenkins will have time in his work week to do that if he could give some of his day-to-day in the field supervision to another crew leader. Then the thought is the maintainer one that has the most seniority and who has been doing a great job will get promoted to the maintainer two position. And then the thought is that we will post the new crew leader position, and that will be a competitive selection for those people who are interested in moving up to crew leader. We're preparing an MOU with the union. We have tentative agreement that with the union, we've been working with them. They think this is a good way to strengthen the department. The work of facilities management is compatible with the work of Public Works departments across the state. And they have agreed that this will be a 1-year pilot. If in fact we find that either the Public Works function or the facilities function has been weakened by this organization and it's not working, the MOU will stipulate that we go back to the foreman being a foreman and back to the grade that the foreman's position is at. And then, so I just wanted to let you know that this is what we're planning. When the MOU is fully negotiated, I will, give you an opportunity to take a look at that before it's signed. So I'm interested in your thoughts.
How many?
Only, go ahead,
Go ahead.
George.
Okay, I was just asking how many employees are on the road crew now?
So again, we have the foreman, a crew leader, 3 maintainer twos, 2 maintainer ones, and a laborer.
Which equals?
It's 8, right? 8.
And it's the position of the union on the pilot, I understand, but going forward, would there be a requirement to add to the crew?
That is not the intention.
Okay.
We, again, the whole idea was first and foremost, not to add to the payroll, and then equally important to not harm either function, either facilities management or public works work plan. John? You have,
My only comments would be, I think number one, I think the pilot program is a good idea. There may be unintended consequences that none of us can see right now. So the ability to go back if by some chance something didn't work out or, changes to be made, I think is good. Again, I think unintended consequences sometimes is an issue that they're nobody's fault, but that's good. And number two, with the different ranks or whatnot jobs, I just make sure, I think it's incumbent upon us. And again, I don't like to get into the day-to-day operations, that's Johnny, but just incumbent upon us as a town to make sure we also provide the proper training, which I'm sure we do, but we continue to do that, especially if they're going to be doing different jobs or supervisory skills or whatnot. I think it is definitely incumbent upon us that we make sure we provide training for people in different roles. That's all.
agreed, thank you. All right, so I'll let you know, I'll send along the MOU when we have that ready. Okay, item number 13 is now the new item, Crooked Hill Road Bid Award. So I think I would like to start this conversation with a motion to rescind the bid award that was made on April 16th to award the Crooked Hill Road bid to the high bidder, John Shevchak. Is there a
Second
second?
that.
To clarify, Laura, the rescission renders the April 16th vote a nullity retroactively?
Correct. So any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Abstain.
I'd like to,
Sorry, did John abstain? Sorry.
Jacqueline, abstain.
Thank you.
I'd like to make another motion to now award the bid to the highest bidder in the amount of $6,250 to the high bidder, John Shevchak. Is there a second?
I don't think you need a second, Laura.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those in favor say, any opposed?
No.
I'll abstain.
So that means the motion has failed. So I would also like to then make a motion to reject the next highest bidder and to put the property back out to bid.
I'll second that.
Discussion. So George, John, in our discussions about all of this, one of the things that was discussed was that perhaps we could have done something more to solicit more responses. So at this point in time, we are bound by our ordinance to follow the procedures. But we are allowed, if it's something that you feel strongly about, and if you think we didn't advertise it enough, we could do that. We could do more, we can't do less. So if you want us, please let us know if you want us to put it in a different newspaper, out to bid for longer. Now is the time. Now is the time.
The answer is yes. I would like to see it advertised in the town times. I would love to see the property, and I know that we don't have to do it by state statute because it was taken under foreclosure, but I would love to see the property signed with the date of the proposed sale.
You mean
Anything?
you mean placarded?
Yes, please. Anything we can do to maximize the potential value of the property, I think that's what we should be doing, not working to the lowest common denominator, but going to the, shall in the ordinance, do the best we can to advertise the sale. And I would also say in the legal notice that per the ordinance, it does require a detailed description of the property. I would like to see that in the notice as well. That was not in the last notice.
Okay.
And if we could use GovCast for things like the farmer's market and things of that nature, I don't think it would hurt to advertise on a venue like that as well.
Okay.
That this is coming up and it's town property. It's something that if any townspeople want to bid on, they're entitled to.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Same.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of July 10th, 2020.
Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections?
No.
John? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Like to make a motion to approve the July 13 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Any additions, deletions, corrections?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Same.
All right. Old and new business. So it looks like the most people can attend the September 14 date for the workshop between Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, and the Compensation Review Board at 6 o'clock. So we'll be putting that out to everyone, and let's start working on agenda items. I would suggest, so that's at 6 o'clock. Our regular meeting is at 7 o'clock. We have choices to make between now and then. We can cancel our regular meeting so that that meeting can go as long as it needs to be, or we can make a very pointed agenda so that not only will we have ability to do some brainstorming together, but maybe we could put some structure together so that any additional pre-work can be done to make it a more focused discussion. So we have some time to think about that. I want to give you, thank you for participating in the briefing about the Zoom room and the technology that could be available for that. So one of the suggestions is that instead of doing the second floor conference room, that we'd be going over to the library so that the boards and commissions that meet over there can have the benefit of this technology. I did talk to the library director. She obviously is open to any technological improvements there, but she did want us to be aware that the library board voted to not allow any meetings or programming to occur in their meeting rooms throughout the end of the year. Like a lot of things, that could change. So what we're going to do is I've asked Alicia, as part of that briefing, she put together a table to do some comparison with the technologies that we've been looking at. I've asked her to include a column so that we could become aware of the incremental cost if we were to add that capability to the library meeting room. In addition, she discovered another option, and that is to rent equipment and work as a software as a service, meaning this company would come in, set it all up, we pay a monthly fee, and once the contract is over, we continue it, or if new technology comes out, we end the contract and we get new technology. So I guess what I'm saying is to stay tuned. This is changing. However, I did ask Alicia to pick a date whereby we have to make a decision, because I don't want to come to September when the executive orders have expired, us not to be ready. So stay tuned. What did you think of the presentation, and what are your ongoing thoughts about this technology?
Alicia is always spot on. She's right on top of this stuff. But the thought that I had, it was really beyond COVID. I mean, I know we're reacting and we're doing what we're doing right now for a virus, but I think the one thing that we've learned going forward, when we can have in-person meetings again, is there are quite a few people in town that do appreciate being able to log in remotely and join the meetings that way. So I think it's not a question of who's open and who's closed.
Right.
As it stands right now, the town hall is closed. When anything reopens is up in the air. But when it does, it would be nice to have this going forward, just for convenience of our residents, as well as to help the people who are at risk from the virus.
So we're gonna,
I'd love to see it regardless.
yeah, so we're gonna update the information that was provided. I just want to make sure that our lead time will be okay, but I would like for this board to be prepared at our next meeting to give a recommendation to the Board of Finance as to which way we ought to go, because we do have a few options.
Good.
All right.
I like options.
All right. So that's that. The last couple of weeks, we've been busy again. CCM did a special session webinar to inform us about some of the zoning, land use, and housing issues that could be the subject of a special session. I did meet with our delegation, Senator Cohen and Representatives Kokaruda and Candelora prior to the session to let them know some of my thoughts and concerns about the special session, specifically the police bill. While there was a good deal of good in that bill, obviously the thing that municipalities were most concerned about was the removing of the qualified immunity. Our insurance carrier is very concerned that not only will we not be able to get indemnified as a municipality, but we're concerned that police officers across the state won't even be able to get protection from personal lawsuits. We tried to request that part of the bill be taken out, and then asked in return for the ways to make it easier to get rid of the bad apples, because everyone should acknowledge that in any industry, there's going to be a bad actor that might need to be addressed. So, as you know, the House didn't agree. It was a contentious debate. It lasted all night. But at the end, the bill was passed by the House. So we're working on that. But in addition, the absentee ballot section. So let me just tell you the impact of the absentee ballots, which, as you know, I supported that for our Board of Ed election. I support the relaxing of the ways by which you can apply for an absentee ballot. But the effort of the Secretary of State's office sending out an application to all registered Democrats, all registered Republicans for the upcoming primary has resulted in this. In 2016, when the last presidential preference primary occurred, we had 83 people apply for an absentee ballot. The town clerk reported to me today, we have already processed over 700. So you can imagine when that is opened up to unaffiliated and all electors in November, it's going to be much more than that. The Secretary of State's office has contracted with a clearinghouse. So now what the town clerk is doing, rather than actually preparing and mailing out the absentee ballots as we've always done, she inputs it into a database and a mailing company is mailing out the ballots. So it's a good thing that this is all getting tested before the November election, but I just wanted you to be aware of the implications of mailing all the absentee ballot applications to everyone. That's quite a change. And this is a primary that certainly wasn't advertised and promoted and as much as the 2016 one. So it's remarkable what's happened with that. And then in September, it is anticipated that there's going to be another special session. And that could be the one where Desegregate Connecticut group is trying to promote some sweeping zoning and land use reform. Some of it we could probably all agree is needed, but others issues and some of the things they're promoting probably needs some vetting. So CCM and Cost is prepared to keep us informed about that. I continue to meet once a week with the COVID response team from RSD 13. On Friday, the plan was released to the parents. It's quite lengthy, and there's still a lot of questions that parents have. We meet again tomorrow. The problem, I don't want to say the problem with the plan, the difficulty in creating the plan was that, we're trying to give the parents as much advanced notice of different scenarios. So what happens if you don't want to send your child? What happens if we start school and then we have to shut down? What happens if statewide numbers start increasing after schools open? So while the plan was released, I can tell you it's still a plan that appears to be a little bit in flux. Continue to participate in the governor's weekly conference calls. I participated in the Regional Plan of Conservation and Development last week. Those of you who were participating in that, I hope you agree with me. It was quite informative, and I got excited to think that this plan will help guide us for some real meaningful planning in the future. Have the water main construction weekly meetings. You might notice work has begun on town roads. So there's a crew on Maple Avenue right now, and they're started work on the third stream crossing on Maple Avenue. So quite a lot of, and we're starting to go into individual properties. So things are really moving along with that. CCM Board of Directors meeting. I had a meeting with the Hamlet Manor Condominium Board Chairman, who came up with a lot of good suggestions. We're going to try to attempt to get our condominiums associations together to talk about some issues of mutual concern. Continue to have our health department meetings. Long-term recovery steering committee for Region 2 met. Demis Regional Collaboration meeting was last Friday, and that's all of the regions across the state with Demis leadership. Had our Demis Region 2 steering committee, RiverCog meeting, and CCM legislative meeting, as well as the Cost Board of Directors meeting. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. Any other old or new business? Have I?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of things, and you mentioned one of them. Insofar as Corn School is concerned, and again, the school's asking us again and what the status is. Do we have a final target date for when we will make some kind of determination, or can we let the school know that?
Open to a suggestion.
Well, obviously, we were given until originally, I think it was March 31st. And we told them we would try to live within that guideline. We owe them an answer. So I would love to say, you know, either we have a meeting about it and decide if we're gonna move forward or cut the ties, let them, you know, in clear conscience decide what they're gonna do. I do honestly think it would be a crying shame to tear that building down. I would hate to see it. But it really comes down to our utilization. What can we use it for, more than just a community center or a senior center? If there is any usage that could be in that building in cooperation with that, because frankly, the building's just too big
Right.
to do a limited scope like that.
Right.
So some kind of a brainstorm to decide for once and for all if we have an idea and if we can, you know, let the school know that we are in fact discussing it, and let the townspeople know that either we have a proposal or we don't. So I would love to just draw a line in the sand and say, by this date, we just have to come up with a plan or not.
Are you willing to come back in to meet with some staff to work on that?
Between staff and anyone creative in the community, if there is a combination of uses that could even potentially be revenue generating without competing with any business in the town of Durham. But if there is a need that we can make a good argument, and obviously I think we can get the costs down tremendously, deciding on how much we bring forward. We just owe it to all parties concerned to, you know, either we try it or we don't try it, or we come to a conclusion that we want to discuss. Or the alternative is, I mean, that school is not going to ever be a school again. And I apologize to Rick for saying it out loud, but they've said it more than once at their meetings. They at this point have no interest or intent of reopening that building, regardless of the demand as a school again. So it either goes to us or nobody.
Right. And as much as we've been distracted by other things, they've been distracted with a lot of things too, all important things. So yeah, they literally don't have the bandwidth to get as creative as what you're just describing. So why don't we get together and help them? I I have been talking to the superintendent about a couple of ideas that are not ready for prime time yet, but could meet what you're describing. And then maybe what we do is we use that GovCast and maybe try the minds of some people. Imagine if there are people who are doing things in their basement that are ready to come out of their basement and need a space just to operate. Wouldn't that?
I mean, again, I wouldn't want to compete with any commercial lease, any venture like that. We'd have to be real careful how we did that, because I mean, we appreciate all of our taxpayers, especially the ones who are on the commercial side of things. So without competing, is there a creative way that we can utilize part of that building for town functions, something beyond, and that, you know, is it at all feasible or possible, and just kick the can down the road, see what we come up with. That's one comment. The other one, the ambulance department, and I know this comes up from time to time, but basically we gave them what amounts to a bridge loan about 6 months ago to try to get them through the fiscal year. They were in dire need of funds. We did such. And we've come through the end of the year. Obviously, the budget is in place for next year. I just am questioning where we stand from that perspective. Are they, with the funds they have on hand, are they solvent? Are they still, and are they going to be a going concern going forward? Is there a date in mind that they have decided that this is when we need to figure out where we're going, if we're going to make it, not make it, volunteers, new personnel on staff? Do they have a master plan long range?
Yeah, so we'll get a briefing in August from them, and we can ask them all those questions. Depending on who you ask, you're going to get different answers. I think that we have to be prepared. We're going to have to answer some of those questions ourselves as well. It's not just up to them. Are we still depending on contracted services? Yes. Has our response level improved? Yes. Is it an acceptable level? I don't know, because we're still passing calls. Have they improved? Yes, they have improved. Have they recruited new members? Yes. Is it enough? Again, different people are going to have different answers to those questions. We're going to have to decide as a board what action we're prepared to take. So let them give their briefing. If I could get them there on August 10th, I will try to have a light enough agenda so that we can spend some quality time with them.
Good, thank you.
Any selectmen comments? All right, I'll open the floor to public comment. Rick.
Yeah, okay. I want to thank George for the work he did, and it was a considerable amount of work on that Corn School proposal. And but any terms that you might come to if you decide to go forward with taking it, we need to know the size of the parcel. The size will determine some possible future liabilities. We just can't say we want to buy it and be at their mercy for whatever size the parcel may be. I don't want to acquire additional liabilities, and it's best left in their court. The other thing is, a couple commissions have taken made the effort to hold in-person meetings. I congratulate them. Wasn't able to go. Hopefully we can all get back to it soon. And as far as the ambulance corps goes, they're not making all their calls, and I know I saw at a Board of Finance meeting when they had their clerk post something on the board, it showed how many calls they made or didn't make. And we need to know that. I mean, it makes a difference if they're not making the calls, if they're putting us all at risk. We already going to be at risk if the legislature goes through with that police proposal. I don't need additional safety concerns because we call an ambulance and spend all that money, and they call in, the outside services. And the report that we commissioned was pretty poor because they didn't really address the problems with, it was problems with management. And I think we probably wore out our welcome with mutual aid, as they call it. When they couldn't go, mutual aid would take over. And the other thing is, and I asked this several years ago, and now we're putting in 80 some odd thousand dollars a year. And where are the townspeople going to find out what we bought? We just can't hand out money and not tell the townspeople what we bought. We don't know what we got there. They don't tell us. And as far as their name goes, Durham Volunteer Ambulance Corps, I think it should be pointed out to the public and emphasized quite strongly that everyone down there is receiving compensation of some kind or another. And maybe that ought to be posted because it's public money. We should have access to that information. It's not acceptable because we're at risk. It's a public health issue. And timing is everything in an emergency situation. We know when we pick up the phone, the state police are going to come. They always have. We know the fire company, they answer all their calls. They always have since they were founded well over 75 or 80 years ago. And yet we have the ambulance corps. They kind of do what they want and they get away with it. Somebody writes them a letter. They don't respond. Everybody just lets them do whatever they want. Apparently, why give them 80 some odd $1,000 if they can't even tell us what we bought?
Thank you,
the billing is not right because they've said in the past, and I was at the meetings, that they didn't bill people when they did, because I met people that got billed. One person even got a notice from a collection agency several years ago. So that situation needs to be straightened out. It's just disgusting and it's not appropriate.
Thank you, Rick. Chuck, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Relative to the Durham Volunteer Ambulance Corps, when you meet with those people, could you please have them identify their implementation of balanced billing? Because that was part of the revenue that we assumed that they were going to be generating to make this thing a feasible operation.
Will do.
Thank you.
Joe, you had your hand up.
Yep, several questions. I guess to go along with the discussion about the ambulance corps, the August 10th meeting, will that be open to the public?
Yes.
And so will it be posted as a Board of Selectmen meeting?
Yes, that's our next regular meeting. Isn't
Okay.
it? Yeah, August 10th. Yeah, August 10th is our next regular meeting.
And I guess the other comment that I'll make about the ambulance corps, I realize it's a commitment to participate in it, even though they're getting some form of compensation, whether it's adequate or not. I guess my point is, when I looked at their meeting minutes, that they have a donation account with $25,000 in it. And if they're on the edge and we're giving $80,000 to keep them going, why are they not using some of that $20,000 in donation money for the operation of the Durham Volunteer Ambulance Corps? I can see that they need some money in that fund, but $25,000 seems a little excessive to me when they're in the condition that they're in.
Yep, we could ask that.
The other thing I'd like to ask about the net metering project,
Yes.
where is that going to be located?
Johnson Lane.
On Johnson Lane?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And who's doing it?
It's a private developer. and they are subject to citing council approval.
Yeah, who is the private developer?
The name is
Joe, didn't that come before P and Z a couple months ago?
no.
No,
Oh, okay.
I think they can either make the choice of coming before P and Z or just going to the siting council like their manufacturing did.
Yes, the name of the company is Luth Callan Renewables, Louth Callan, Callan Renewables.
Thank you. And then I think it's the last thing. You guys had mentioned now at several meetings over the course of several months, different items have come up for charter revision. And it's something that we should look at in the future for charter revision, and you know, that gets repeated here and there. Why are we not forming a charter revision committee to review the charter so these things do not get lost in the as time passes? So we're capturing and we can upgrade our charter to the standard that it should be.
So
Can I answer that, Laura?
Sure.
Laura brought it up in the first meeting of the new board of selectmen. And at that time, I was not in favor of doing it for the reason that the more you get into the discrepancies within the charter, you really have to work it to find it. So the last few months have been pretty eye-opening for me, and I've been making notes and marking up the charter as I see some of the problems are, but it really is a question that we're not putting it off forever. I'm just trying to get more information, and when things come up, we are noting it, and not just doing a charter revision to add some new boards and commissions to it, but really seeing some of the problems, the way the language is stated. And my attitude is either you follow the charter or you don't have a charter. So some of what we're doing, we're kind of skirting around the edges. It says we do certain things and we don't actually do it. Either you change it, get rid of it, or you discuss why aren't we doing it. So we're kind of at the discussion point now, in my opinion, on the board of selectmen, and just trying to get some input and some ideas as to, you know, where are the discrepancies and how do we fix it going forward. So it is kind of a work in process from my perspective. And as the charter gets revised, it comes back to the board of selectmen for their comments and approval before going before the town. So this is basically a learning curve for me as much as anything. And I think putting it off until, I think we said January. So I asked for a year just to go through it. So that, I think that is the timetable that we're looking at, Joe.
That would be
Right.
January of 2021.
Right.
Correct.
No, yes, 2021. And then there's also timing considerations to get it on a ballot, whether it be a standalone, a referendum, or put on a November ballot for the greatest opportunity for participation. There's also some budgetary consideration. When you put together a charter revision commission, you'll need legal consultation, notices, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just simply forming a commission, but we should all be taking notes on, you know, once we do form this, what are the items that we should take a look at.
And I know every time we say that's something we should look at, I know Jacqueline's writing that down. Right, Jacqueline?
I have been.
And the
Thank
list
you,
is
guys.
growing, right?
Yes.
All right. Rick,
Thank
your
you.
hand is up again.
Yeah, thank you for letting me come back on. With regards to the ambulance corps, I was looking today, they haven't filed any minutes since I think of April of this year. There's been problems in the past with them bringing the records forward and they haven't done it. even though you had the mechanics of that organization looked at, you never had professionals review their finances, and we need to have their finances reviewed by the proper financial authorities, certified public accountants, especially forensic, back through to the previous leadership's regime. You need to straighten that out, see what happened there. I mean, we need to do it. It'd be money well invested. The other thing is, when we had the meeting in the library with the firm and the engineers regarding the start of the water main project, I mentioned that the contractor did not have a license to install water main in the state of Connecticut according to the Department of Consumer Protection site. Now, they still don't have a listing on that site for a contractor's license. And not only do they have to have a contractor's license, they have to have licensed people in the field installing the water main and services. And when they go to the house, it's another set of licenses that covers that. And the building inspector I would hope would definitely be involved in inspecting all those services because they're going into a residence. Because the water line itself is fire rated, the fire marshal should be verifying all the pressure tests. They seem to be flushing or letting water out of the hydrants for whatever reasons, any number of times. And I don't see what they're trying to accomplish unless there's a problem. As far as the DOT overseeing the work there, I'm sure they're investigating the trench excavation and backfill and making sure all that's done properly. And I'm sure hopefully they're looking at the concrete slabs, because that whole road is concrete. There are 40-foot sections in both lanes going north and south. And they haven't, those issues need to be addressed. And they're
Rick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to remind you that this is a $26 million project that is being run by the Army Corps of Engineers. And I can assure you that they, above all, are following all the regulations that need to be followed. There are weekly meetings with them and with the team. DOT's involved, the town's involved, DEEP's involved, DPH attends from time to time. It is a highly regulated, highly monitored. The expenses are looked at with a fine-tooth comb. So to say that, things aren't being, or to maybe even assume that things aren't being followed correctly is probably incorrect. What I can do is put you in touch with the community liaison. They have hired a full-time person to interact with the community. He's met with a number of our residents who have had some concerns personally. He's on the job sites all the time. He has the schedule. And I can put you in touch with our health department or Ed Hathaway, anybody that you want to talk to about this project if you have either observed or have any concerns. This is an open process, so you do have access if you have questions.
Yeah, Laura, I mean, this is going to be with us for a long time after all these people go. We have an interest in it. They have to be licensed. As far as I know, there's no exemption. And it's a matter of record. You can go on the internet tomorrow or after this meeting and look under the Consumer Protection Department, under Ludlow Construction. They may have a license somewhere, or maybe they can find somebody with a license to, show you, but they have to have licensed people there on the job doing the work.
Well, there's nothing, Rick, there's nothing more rigorous than the federal procurement policies. Nothing more rigorous. We had to wait almost a year for them to be vetted, for that award to be awarded to them. So again, I cannot speak as if I am a representative of the federal government, but I can put you in touch with someone who can answer your concerns, okay?
All right, but I think as our first selectman, you should be concerned that the contractor should have a license and it should be presented. And they should, and those numbers are available. It's a certified payroll. So, everything can be cross-checked. And nobody seems to be interested in doing that. Anyplace else, anytime I was involved with water main work, they were checking licenses.
Okay.
I didn't say they weren't licensed. I just said there's none listed. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, your hand's up again.
Yep, just a quick one. Can you put out a GovCast to let everybody in town know that there's a liaison for that project if people have questions?
Okay, well, one was put out, but I can put out another one. When the project was started, we put out the information on how to get updates on the project. EPA
Right, but-
has a dedicated page, and Mike Cunningham's information is there, as well as minutes for all of the weekly progress meetings.
Okay, well, you just said that they hired a new liaison.
No, he's been already here for about a year. He actually lives here now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Heather, I see your hand up.
Hi, Laura. Just a quick question for the development on Johnson Lane. Is that the land that's for sale closer to Middletown?
For sale?
Yeah, was there a development on Johnson Lane? Is that what you were saying?
No, there is a private owner of property on Johnson Lane. I think the owners are the Newton family, and they are contracting with a solar developer to put a solar array on some of their fields.
Oh, goodness. Okay, didn't know that. Thank you.
I don't see any other public comment.
I have a real quick question, Laura. What Rick had mentioned, I was just wondering, and it's just an observation, the difference between Main Street and Route 68 or Ludlow and the Eversource project, the one on 17 with the water always seems to have state police doing the traffic monitoring, and the other is more of a private contractor. Is there a rule about that?
That's DOT. DOT can approve a certified flagging company, and it's part of their permit. Some state police is preferred, but sometimes they can't get state police to take the overtime. They just don't have the personnel.
All right, thank you.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone,
Good night.
for your participation.